nothing quite like this. Don't it feel like tonight might never be again? Baby, we know better than to try and pretend. Honey, no one could have ever told me about this. I said, yeah, 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 yeah. The waiting is the hardest part. Every day you see one more card. You take it on faith, you take it to the heart. The waiting is the hardest part.
Gosh, finally. I didn't realize I'd have to do all that waiting. What's up everyone? Ryan McCullough here with another Next Generation Music Sessions lesson video. That's right, I'm combining the tutorials and lesson videos into one magic video. I don't know, I got nothing. The Waiting by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers is a great song for intermediate guitar players to work on barred chords. So it's a great song because most of the chords are open position chords with the exception of one, which is a B minor chord. So you only have one barred chord to contend with. Not to worry, the open chords are still a little tricky because you've got some arpeggiation going on there. So without further ado, drum roll please, we're going to go through this song and talk about the chord progression, talk about how to play the simple chord progression, and I will demonstrate, and then also we're going to talk about troubleshooting tips for playing The Waiting, so stick around. Okay, The Waiting by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers is in the key of D. What does that mean? So it means that all of the chords come from a D major scale. D major contains the notes D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. In D, you only have two raised notes, F sharp and C sharp. When you play a song in the key of D, you should expect to find three chords, D, G, and A. Those are the three major chords. These chords happen naturally on the first note of the scale, the fourth note of the scale, and the fifth note of the scale. Introductory chord progression starts on the 4 chord. The introductory chord progression is also the chorus chord progression. You start out by approaching the G with an F sharp. So you're going to play that G with 2nd fret on the E string, like this. So when you practice this, you're going to want to play the low notes first and then the high notes. You should get used to strumming your chords this way because you're very rarely going to strum the entire guitar like that. That's like when you want to play as loud as humanly possible, which rarely happens. So here's how the riff goes. And here's how I would practice it. Practice it by just playing the low notes and then the high notes, low notes and then the high notes, like this. This song also makes use of sus chords. What's a sus chord? A sus chord is when you take the third of the chord, that is the note in between the root and the fifth, and you replace it either with the fourth or the second. Those are the two flavors of sus chords. So in this song we have an A sus4, which means substituting the leading tone C sharp for the tonic D. So why would you use a sus chord as opposed to just using a regular root position chord? So a sus chord can be used for a number of different things. In this case, I would say it's a way of extending the chord progression. So you have this kind of suspense building until you get to the verse. That's its function. Okay, so there are two important elements for this song. One is going to be the groove of the song, which requires you to subdivide eighth notes. So here's the idea. You have a bar of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you break that bar of 4 into smaller parts, eighth notes. So they go twice as fast. So it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The guitar part has you playing the chords on beats 1 and the and of 2, which sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And that's the comping rhythm. The chord progression for the verse is A for a bar, and then you play in the next bar G on beat 1 and D on the end of 2, which sounds like this. And then finally, after the second phrase, you get this different progression that comes in, which is going to be B minor, which is the 6th chord. And remember, this is your only barred chord here. And then you're going to go to a G. And then you're going to go to an A and play some susses in there when you mirror the yeah, yeah part in the vocals. Finally, the thing I like to do once I've learned a tune, or once I've figured out sort of the meat and potatoes of a tune, is to extract some of this information and figure out how to integrate it into my own playing. So a couple things to keep in mind here. If you're a songwriter, starting your songs out on the 1 chord all of the time can be a bit monotonous. So try, just like Tom Petty did, writing a song where you start on the 4 chord or start the verse on a 5 chord. That's a really, really cool trick. Secondly, think about the groove of the song and how it fits into the melody. In this case, oh baby, don't it feel like heaven right now, right? That groove fits into the rhythm of the melody really, really well, playing on beats 1 and the and of 2. So think about how you can use syncopation, that is playing on 1 and the and of 2, to your advantage. And finally, one of my favorite things to do with songs like this is to look at how the open chords are being played. And in this case, the G, I think, is really telling, because you're just playing a G, but you're approaching the root of that G with the note right below it in the scale. So think about, when you're playing open chords, how to make them more interesting by integrating scale lines. So here's a little thing that I've done where I've taken the observations from this song and written a little chord progression, which goes like this.